Hello everyone, my name is Pixelriffs and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. I hope you're all having a good day. In today's episode, we are doing it. We're going to go and fight the dragon. The first thing we're going to do is grab a couple more boats from my storage system because that's one of the things I haven't thrown in my ender chest. They take up a bit of space, but boats can also be a good thing for Endermen. We can capture Endermen in a boat if they aggro on us and hopefully survive a little bit longer. The other thing I'm going to do is use up a bunch of my XP levels. I have 65 levels from mostly trading with villagers and fighting mobs the other night, and the dragon, if we kill it, is going to drop a lot of XP, so I don't want the XP levels I've already accumulated to go to waste. I'm just going to enchant a bunch of books since I don't really have any gear that I need to enchant right now, and hopefully we'll come away with a few decent enchantments on some of these, mostly knockback 2 right now apparently. There's a little bit of efficiency in there, that's not too bad. Protection 3 could actually go on the leggings that I've got right now, so we might as well combine those as well. We've got 29 levels left. Let's throw these on there and we'll dock another 5 levels from that total. We got 24 levels left. Okay, so that's not really enough to enchant that many more books. Although honestly, half of the enchantments on these books I would probably want to take off with the grindstone anyway. I think it's at least getting us down to a reasonable amount of levels where we can see the impact the dragon's XP drops have on the player. But with that taken care of, it's time to step through the nether once again, go to the stronghold portal that we created in episode 48, and let's see about fighting this dragon. Here we are, back at our ominous lava lakeside nether portal. Let's head on through to the stronghold, where we should find ourselves just a step away from the portal room with our ender chest already here. I'm going to swap my diamond helmet back onto there. We're probably going to just leave that in the ender chest for the moment because I might end up coming back to that later. And we have a couple of options. First of all, we can set our spawn here so that if we end up dying at any time during the dragon fight, we can very easily make it back to this portal without any issues. The other option is to leave my spawn set back at the house, because presumably if we are successful and we end up coming back through the central portal of the end having defeated the dragon, we don't end up back at this portal, we end up back at our spawn location, basically wherever we last slept. So I think it makes sense to leave the spawn set there and hope that we defeat the ender dragon first time. The silverfish are letting me get in a little bit of practice. I'm going to throw down my ender chest and we're going to grab a couple of things. First of all, we're going to grab the remaining eyes of ender that we need to fill up this portal, because we need to complete the portal frame around the outside here. I'm this close to breaking the silverfish spawner, I swear. We're going to complete the portal around the outside here, and that's going to activate the central blocks of the portal. Once we step through those, we will not fall in lava. We will end up jumping straight through to the end dimension, and there is no delay like there is with the nether portal. You just end up going straight through to the end on contact with those blocks. Now, when that happens, we will need to have some blocks on us, because we're going to spawn on an obsidian platform somewhere on the end island, but there is a chance for the terrain to have generated so that the obsidian platform appears outside the island, so it will be really helpful for us to have a decent amount of blocks on us to bridge to that island if we need to. There also won't be a great deal of time to access our inventory during the dragon fight, so I'm going to make sure I bring with me the glass bottles to dispel the dragon's breath, the carved pumpkin just in case we run afoul of any enderman, and I think that'll probably do. We'll grab the rest of the golden carrots just so I have a decent amount of them. The scaffolding will probably be useful as well. We won't need the torches until later, and we are going to bring the slow falling potions too. So with these last few silverfish taken care of, there is no time like the present. Let's get our dragon fight started by hopping through to the portal and going to the end. Okay, we have an obsidian platform that is quite a distance away from the central island. Luckily, we wouldn't take too much fall damage if we ended up falling directly from it, but the idea right now is to get up to this island as soon as possible. So we're going to break our way upwards. We can see the ender dragon's health bar has already appeared at the top of the screen. That is our objective. We've got to reduce that to 0, take out the ender dragon, and claim this island for ourselves. So the end island is going to generate in a pretty random shape, but there will always be this central ring of obsidian towers with end crystals on top of them. And as you can see, the endermen are already milling around. The dragon is going to be circling these towers, and once we start to get inside this inner ring, the dragon is going to notice us and is going to start throwing fireballs from above. The dragon has 4 distinct patterns of behavior. The first is like this. It will swing around the sky, it will fireball us with that dragon's breath, and that's when we can swoop in with the glass bottle clear that up a little bit and get the You Need a Mint achievement. But it looks like the Endermen have already spotted us, and this is why I warned you to be worried about Endermen when we came through to the end. Because right now, the dragon is fireballing us while I'm trying to fight this Enderman, and it's proving to be a bit of a tricky fight. There we go, we got the Enderman taken out. We need to make sure we heal up with those golden carrots, and we can continue bottling up the dragon's breath if we want to clear up some of the areas of the battlefield. That looks like it disappeared naturally though, so we'll head over here, grab a little bit more of the breath from over here, and we've got that stacking up in our inventory as we speak. So while the dragon is flying around this arena, it will be able to heal itself from these end crystals on tops of the towers. So those are our first objective. Those are the things that we need to take out before we can really do any significant damage to the dragon. It's possible to kill the dragon without doing that, it's just a lot harder. And the towers come in a variety of shapes and sizes, two of which will have crystals guarded by iron bars on the top of them. So there we go, we managed to explode an end crystal right under the dragon, and if the dragon is recharging from an end crystal, when the crystal is destroyed, it will take a little bit of damage, but the rest of the time we're just going to have to rely on our marksmanship to get the job done. Now it's a little bit tricky to hit these from the tops of the towers. The angle that you shoot at is going to vary depending on which tower you're aiming at, so the only advice I can really give is to get a bit of practice in with a bow before you take on this fight, and hopefully the dragon's recharging beam will kind of give you some indication as to where the crystal is, and hopefully if you take a couple of shots up there, you're going to get lucky. There we go, we managed to take out that one, and the dragon is now recharging from the nearest tall tower, so hopefully we can take that one out as well. You'll notice that even though it's taken a bit of damage from some of those crystals exploding, the dragon's health is regenerating, and it's mostly now regenerating from those two crystals with the cages. When the dragon touches down on the portal like this, it will typically spew dragon's breath in a pretty wide area, and then that's when it tries to swoop towards the player like so, which is when you need to have your slow falling potions active just in case. The dragon will also aggro a bunch of Endermen when it does this, which is kind of helpful in clearing out the battlefield for you. But with two crystals left on these tall towers and the two left in the cages, we're going to focus on the tall towers first if we can. Now naturally it's going to be a little bit tricky to get up to some of these taller towers, so one of the things I would recommend doing is grabbing some scaffolding and climbing the side of one of these nearby towers. We're going to climb the tower on the inside like so that if the dragon attacks us, it's not going to knock us completely off the island. This will give us a slightly better vantage point from which we can try to snipe some of these crystals, and then the dragon actually managed to fly through and break some of the scaffolding that we were using. And that's part of why I end up using scaffolding, really, because scaffolding can break your fall a little bit more easily than some of the other blocks. We've taken out another one of the pillars so far. Now we just need to hit this last one, and it's proving a little bit tricky to do that from this angle whilst also keeping track of where the dragon is. While the dragon's on the opposite side of the arena though, let's try the same trick one more time. Let's pillar up here using some scaffolding. We could even place a solid block up here if we don't want the dragon to destroy the scaffolding, but it looks like that with the dragon swooping down, we might actually have a good opportunity to snipe this crystal. The dragon's flying towards us, which means it's probably, yep, it broke the scaffolding again. Well, no worries, we can hold shift and we'll be able to make our way safely down the scaffolding that is left at the bottom of the tower. I'm going to give this one more try, but we might end up having to fight the dragon from ground level at this point. And yep, there we go, we got the tower, fantastic. Let's break the scaffolding on our way down. And one of the other noteworthy things about the Ender Dragon here is that it will break any blocks which are not native to the end. So if the block is not obsidian that these towers are made out of, endstone, or the bedrock of the central portal, it will potentially break any blocks that you brought in from the overworld. So it's worth bearing in mind, and try not to put anything down here that you're worried about losing. At this point, the dragon is only recharging from 2 more crystals, so we could start to do a little bit of damage here, but it's still going to recharge from the 2 in cages. There's a couple of different ways you can handle these. Some people like to stand close to the bottom of this and shoot upwards through that gap in the iron bars there, because it's still possible to hit the end crystals that way, and for me that works better on some of the shorter towers. This remaining tower, which the dragon is now circling around, is our only remaining problem, and I'll show you another method that I like to do for taking out these towers. If we scaffold up, or if we pillar up with a certain amount of blocks on the side here, even though the explosion from these end crystals is pretty violent, Yikes, okay, we need to get down a little bit here because the dragon is fireballing the tower in an attempt to keep us off this last crystal. As I was saying, even though the explosion from these end crystals is pretty violent, we can actually jump up here, and if we're a couple of obsidian blocks below the lip of the tower there, we can take out the end crystal with our pickaxe, and we won't take any extra damage. Think of it like the bed method of mining for netherite in the nether. As long as there is a block at your feet, you're probably not going to take as much explosion damage as you would otherwise. Now I'm going to monitor the dragon as it's flying around, but it looks like there are no more crystals left for it to recharge from. And once this happens, it's going to swoop down and attack from on top of the bedrock platform over here. When it does that, the dragon is only immune to melee damage. It's not going to be damaged by arrows at all. And I usually like to come in and attack the dragon's feet while it's doing this. Now, some people like to stand inside the bedrock portal and attack the head because the head's hitbox actually takes a little bit more damage, and if we're standing here below the level of this bedrock, we won't get affected by the dragon's breath in any way. Eventually, the dragon will leave its bedrock nest and return to the sky where we can start to pelt it with arrows again, but the arrows won't have any effect once it starts to swoop in and perch on the portal again. It will do this more frequently though once all of the end crystals have been destroyed, so now is our time. If we can sneak in under the feet, do a little bit more damage to the head, we should be able to take out the Ender Dragon on this cycle. Whoa, okay, we got thrown into the air there as the dragon left the portal. I think it's probably time for one more round, as long as I can keep the dragon in front of me in the meantime, because I don't want to have the dragon sneak up behind me and try and throw me into the void. The dragon's patterns while in the air are a little bit unpredictable, so a lot of the time you'll find that it's kind of difficult to shoot it with arrows once it gets into this pattern. You'll deal a lot of damage as it swoops down towards the portal because it just rolls over in the air, trying to get down to the portal from whatever height it has reached. But with the dragon's head facing us in this direction, we'll sneak around the outside and we'll deal the final blow to the feet, like so. There we go, and we have freed the end from the Ender Dragon. We got an achievement for that, we got an advancement popping up there as well, and the XP rains down from the sky of the end. Now we can grab all of this, massive XP orbs that are going to be all around here. We'll end up with over 60 levels from that, which is usually a really fun thing to have from the Ender Dragon fight. One more XP orb there and there. 69 levels, very nice. Now we've got the Ender Dragon's egg here on the portal, which is very simple to collect. All we need to do is tap it once so that it teleports away, which it is prone to doing. Then once it's gone to a block that we can actually break, we need to break out a couple of blocks underneath it, and the dragon's egg is affected by gravity. So we can break the block underneath it. The block itself will not teleport away. We can just break it on a torch below and pick it up, and we get the next generation advancement for having obtained the Ender Dragon's egg. So that fight, all in all, went pretty well. We didn't need to use the boats or the slow-falling potions, but it was good to have them in reserve. We did get knocked up into the air a couple of times, but believe me, the dragon can knock you into the air pretty high, so slow-falling potions aren't exactly over-preparing. I really think they are useful for the fight if that happens. Now that we've defeated the Ender Dragon, the central portal of the End Island is activated with that same slightly eerie portal texture, and if we jump through that, we'll be shown the end credits of the game along with the end poem before we return to our spawn location. And there's another thing on this island that we need to check out while we're here, because this bedrock gateway has appeared around the central part of the island. These generate once per dragon fight, so we can re-summon the dragon later on in this world's lifespan, fight it again, and generate another one of these gateways. These have a central portal block, which, if you throw an ender pearl through it, will lead out to the outer end islands. But between us and those islands is about 1,000 blocks worth of the void, and if we take a quick look down here, you will see what I mean. The void is not to be trifled with. If you fall into the void, it's pretty much an instantaneous death and you lose all of your items. There is no way to recover any of them. So that's what makes the Ender Dragon fight a little bit scary for players and why exploring the end should be approached carefully. Now there's a bunch of stuff that we didn't end up doing in this dragon fight. There are multiple different ways of taking on the dragon, as I'm sure anybody who's seen a Minecraft speedrun can attest to. We also didn't get the advancement for looking at the dragon with our spyglass. So there are many many reasons to respawn the dragon in future, not least because we can generate 20 of these gateways in a circle around the outside of the island here, and those will actually lead out in the relative directions that the portals generate. So for example, the one that generates directly north, assuming that is north, yeah it is, oh, I guessed quite well. The one that generates directly north will take us out in the northerly direction on the end islands. The one that generates to the south will take us out south, and we'll end up exploring outwards from some of those to find our first end city. Since one of those gateways will generate every time we defeat the Ender Dragon, it makes sense to fight the Ender Dragon a bunch more times, and we'll look into ways of doing that in future. For now though, let's take a look at the landscape around us. We've got a bunch of this end stone, which can be crafted into end stone bricks if we want to. It's otherwise a moon rock style building material. I don't think it has any stairs or slabs or anything like that. I think you can just turn it into end stone brick, and then from there you can turn that into stairs and slabs and that kind of thing. The other thing you'll notice is, of course, the abundance of Endermen all around us. And if you've been short on Ender Pearls throughout your world so far and you've been hoping to get a decent supply of them, this is really where we will come for that, because the Endermen are going to generate here in large numbers. They'll respawn a whole bunch, and we'll be able to farm Ender Pearls from them eventually. One way we can do that right now, if we're short on Ender Pearls, is by creating a little bit of headroom for ourselves up here, standing directly underneath a 2-block high ceiling like this, and simply looking at a bunch of the Endermen in the surrounding area, because then we'll be able to attack them all with our looting sword here and gather a bunch more Ender Pearls for the journey. Now, in my case, I have ended up with a bunch of Ender Pearls from trading with clerics, and they're all sitting in my Ender chest right now, but it's worth having a decent handful of these on you, because you can use them to Ender Pearl through those gateways, which you can access in other ways, but an Ender Pearl is often the most convenient. They're also quite good for getting away from fights. If an Enderman aggroes on you and you just throw an Ender Pearl in the direction of a bit more terrain, you might be able to get out of the aggro radius pretty quickly. One thing to note, though, is that if you Ender Pearl against the side of a block here in the end, and there's nothing below you, there is a chance that you can end up falling into the void. So once again, that should be avoided. And while I'm itching to step through this gateway and head out to the outer end islands right now, and that's kind of what we packed up the Ender chest for, my inventory is getting kind of full. We have a dragon egg, we have a bunch of other stuff that I want to go and stash back at home. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to hop back through the end portal. And once we do, I'm going to hit escape to skip the end poem, because I really feel like that's something that players should experience for themselves for the first time. So the word Minecraft will scroll up, there will be a bunch of text, which is honestly worth reading as part of your Minecraft experience, and then you'll see the credits for all of the development team and everything, and now we are back at our home here at spawn. That central end portal, once it's activated, will always return you to your spawn points. So if you've set that at the stronghold, be prepared for a run back through the stronghold to get to wherever your base is. I haven't quite figured out where we're going to put the end stone and end stone brick in my storage system yet. I'm not certain if we're going to acquire enough of it to really warrant a whole filter system, so I'm going to leave that in here along with the dragon egg, which might seem like a strange choice, but right now I don't have a trophy cabinet or anywhere to put it. We're going to figure out a place to store that a bit later, and I don't want to put it in my ender chest because that's going to be full of items I'm bringing back from the end cities. We're also going to leave the dragon's breath and the glass bottles in here, since I won't really need any of those on my trip out to the outer end islands. The slow falling potion, though, I am probably going to end up bringing with me, so we'll keep one of those in our inventory, one in the ender chest, and let's return to the stronghold so that we can go back to the end. Back at the stronghold, we're going to hop through to the end once again, and we find ourselves back on that obsidian platform. This platform will actually generate inside the rock of the island sometimes. It's just the fluke of the way this island has generated that's caused it to generate kind of outside of the landmass of the island, but honestly, I've seen worse. From here, we can also get an interesting vantage point on the underside of the island, and you'll see that those obsidian pillars that the dragon's end crystals rest on actually go all the way through the island and down to Y0, where the void begins. I'm mainly creating this barrier around the outside so I don't end up looking directly at an enderman when I spawn into the end next time, and that should give us a nice easy way to get over to the island. Another important thing to note is that this obsidian platform can be destroyed. It is possible to break this obsidian the way you can any normal obsidian, but it will regenerate anytime we return to the end from the portal in the stronghold. So when we come back through next time, you'll find that this spruce plank here has been replaced by obsidian. It will also replace anything inside of a 3-block height above the obsidian platform so that the player has enough room to spawn in. So don't leave anything important here on the obsidian platform is what I'm saying basically, because if you leave the dragon egg here, for example, it's going to get evaporated next time somebody comes through to the end. So on to our end gateway, and this is the final thing we're going to cover in this episode. We're going to make our way through the gateway and see what lies beyond, and then we'll call it for this episode, and next week we're going to head out to the outer end islands and see what we can do. Now, a lot of these gateways will generate in a position where they're actually kind of over the void themselves, so we do want to make sure we don't ender pearl against the side of one of these blocks and just fall directly downwards into the void. So what a lot of players like to do is pillar up so you can get a bit closer to the gateway. You can even put a ladder up the side of this or make a staircase or something so that it's slightly closer. And then we can pop down our ender chest. We can grab some ender pearls. We'll break this with the silk touch pickaxe, making sure we've got hold of that. And you know what? I'm going to pick that up again because I actually kind of need a couple of ender chests to bring with me. If you don't feel like risking ender pearling into one of these gateways, Java Edition, of course, offers the alternative of being able to crouch into a one-block space. Basically, you can put a trapdoor up here, open the trapdoor onto yourself, and that'll flatten you out into a crawling position where you can crawl directly into this central portal. But what I'm going to do is just throw an ender pearl into it, and now we arrive at the outer end islands. This is, like I said, 1,000 blocks away from the central island. We are now at a 1,062 on the Z-axis. Immediately above us, you will see a return gateway that will actually return us to the central end island at the gateway we came in by. So sometimes people prefer to surround those with solid blocks to make sure that you don't end up spawning in a weird place and falling into the void if you're using this gateway to return. However, there is another gateway here in front of us, which is actually an interesting fluke of generation. Now, this is not a gateway that will return us to one of the gateways that we generate on the island after the dragon fight, because the return gateways from the outer end islands only generate when you've fought the dragon and the gateway around the central island generates, meaning this is a completely new one. And if we throw our ender pearl back through this, it's going to take us back to the obsidian platform at the start of the end dimension, not one of the outer ring of gateways from the dragon fight. Hopefully that makes sense. Anyway, I'm going to continue looking down because I don't want to look at an enderman while I'm doing my outro, but this is where we're going to leave this episode for today, because next episode we're going to go and explore the outer end islands, look for some end cities, and hopefully obtain our first elytra. But for now, that's going to be it from me. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Minecraft Survival Guide. My name has been Pixlriffs. Don't forget to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you folks soon. Take care. Bye for now.